Jubilation erupting among party loyalists there at the Supreme Court, where we saw the delivering of a triple victory, reaffirming the elections of three state governors, Doyediri of Bayelsa, Usman Ododo of Kogi, and Hope Uzodinma of Imo, just today. Welcome to Beyond 100 Days, everyone. I am Nifemi Oguntoye. In a landmark ruling, we see the Apex Court today uphold the mandates of these governors, putting to rest months of uncertainty and political tensions.
We are very happy that today again, Governor Doyediri has won. You will recall that this has been a series of victories affirming his victory at the election. At the election tribunal, we won. At the Court of Appeal, we won. And today too, at the Supreme Court, the final court, the highest court of the land, we have also won, affirming his victory at the polls. So we are very happy that the appeal filed by Silva has been dismissed, having been found by the Supreme Court to amount to a gross abuse of court process.
But in a shocking turn of events, the very fabric of our judiciary was threatened when the Social Democratic Party's governorship candidate in Kogi State, Murtala Ajaka, was attacked by some individuals right within the hallowed halls of the Supreme Court today after the election of Usman Ododo was affirmed. In a disturbing scene, Ajaka was hastily whisked away by security operatives, leaving many to wonder about the safety and sanctity of our highest court. Well, I'm joined by a senior advocate of Nigeria to discuss that very shortly. But let's tell you that earlier this morning, President Bola Tinubu swore in Justice Kudirat Kekereekun as the new Chief Justice of Nigeria. Justice Kekereekun, who's the second in line among the justices of the Supreme Court, was recommended to the President by the National Judicial Council. President Tinubu says the CJN has established a reputable and incorruptible record all through her career. He also described us as a brilliant lawyer, a trailblazer. The President urged Justice Kudirat Kekereekun to be faithful and loyal to the Constitution and defend the judiciary's independence. I'm joined by Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Dr. Roland Otaru, on the program. Dr. Otaru, thanks for joining us. We saw what is perhaps a desecration of the Supreme Court on the same day acting CJN Kekereekun was sworn in. What do you make of the attack on Murtala Ajaka earlier today? Well, we're going to try to connect with the Senior Advocate of Nigeria, but while we're doing that, let's turn to Abuja, where we also have standing by a lawyer and human rights activist from our Abuja studio. I'm going to get clarity on the name shortly. But if our guest can hear me, let me begin with you to get your reaction as to what happened today at the Apex Court. The SDP governorship candidate had a right to be there, right?
Yes, it does.
What do you make of what you saw happen today?
Well, I think the Supreme Court has made a very, very clear decision. They have made a 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 very clear First of all, let me start by saying that it's a sad one for our judiciary having such situation, especially at the apex court of the land in the Supreme Court, and having an attack. Now, it goes to also tell you how bad the situation, or how much the politicians have continued to desecrate not just the justice system, but the country in general. And for some of us who hold this profession and hold the judiciary in the highest esteem, it is really sad. It's a sad day for us, because it's not something that is expected to happen within the premises of the Supreme Court, talk more of within the courts. This is really sad, and it's really unfortunate, and it's something I think both the president and the new Chief Justice of the Federation needs to swing into action, and whoever is involved in these whole attacks should be brought to book, because we cannot encourage this. If these persons are not brought to book, I tell you, to actually boost the morale of others to try a similar thing. And it is really sad, it's really unfortunate. We cannot allow behaviors like this to go unchecked, to go unaddressed. We must address it as a nation. It's a shame and a disgrace to the judiciary. And for some of us, we are saddened by this particular event. We are saddened by this particular action. And whoever is involved, all those that participated in it, should be called to book and be brought to book.
Mr. Wala, I apologize, I did not introduce you quite well earlier. Chetame Wala is a lawyer and Pan-Africanist. Thank you for joining us on the show. It would no doubt serve as a fundamental precedent if this is allowed to pass. We have the faces on camera. If this can happen at the Supreme Court, how can petitioners feel safe in lower courts? But do you consider this unprecedented?
Of course, in all sense of it, it is sad. In all sense of it, it is wrong. In all sense of it, it's not something that should be encouraged at any point. That is why the president himself should take this as a responsibility to take decisive steps. And in short, whoever is investigating this particular matter should report directly to the president, because it also rubs up on his own administration. It is really sad. You know, the president has always stood in line with protecting the judiciary and also advocating for an independent judiciary. And if that be the case, if this misbehavior by politicians could happen within the premises of the Supreme Court, then the president must take action. Because we must save the judiciary from the hands of politicians. Politicians have continued to destroy the judiciary in this country. They have continued to try to compromise the judiciary in this country. And it is because these people are not put in check. It is because people who do these things, they go scot-free. They go unaddressed or unattended to, and they feel that they can walk out of it freely. So the judiciary on its own too has to also step up its game. Because it is sad, it is really unfortunate. It calls for sober reflection amongst not just Nigerians, but amongst the members of the judiciary and amongst lawyers in general.
I agree with you, no doubt. Let's talk about the appointment of a new acting CJN. It's quite rather unfortunate that the desecration of the Supreme Court is happening on the same day of a swearing in. But how much of challenges do you think she has ahead of her? We've seen some conflicting court orders in the past year, especially from courts of coordinate jurisdiction, and what some perceive as indiscipline on the bench during the tenure of the outgone CJN. How significant are these challenges, and what monumental tasks await the acting CJN in addressing them?
I must tell you that at this time of our life as a nation and as a people, there are a lot of reforms that the judiciary needs at this point in time. And the new CJN has a lot of reform to carry out within the judiciary. There is a lot of wrong things happening within the judiciary that, for me as a lawyer, I am not proud of. And I also believe that most lawyers are also not proud of what is happening within the judiciary. Especially, let me say, one of the problems I have noticed, or I have always said over time, that has bedeviled the judiciary is the infiltration of politicians in the judiciary. Politicians influencing judgments of court, politicians one of the problems I've also stated is, the problem begins from the appointment of justice and judges. And when you see situations where politicians now get to appoint their wives, their cronies, their daughters, their children, and all that into the judiciary as judges, it becomes a problem. It's a major issue, and that must be checked. That must be checked. Because we've had situations where, even if you look at Senator Bukachawa, who was a former senator of the Federal Republic, in his retirement validity speech, we heard him say on national television how he actually influenced things within the country. This is really sad. It is really sad. It is unheard of. We've seen plethora of conflicts of court decisions from courts of coordinate jurisdiction. These things should not be happening within our judiciary. And the new CJN needs to look into these things and fix the judiciary. The judiciary needs proper fixing, because truth is this: the judiciary is the last hope of the common man. When all constant goes wrong, if we lose the judiciary as a nation, then we have lost our nation completely. And let me tell you, whether you like it or not, politicians generally has desecrated our system.
I understand your passion quite well, but recall that the senator's wife, came out again to deny all that the husband has talked about. So, except you are believing the senator over the wife who is a justice of the court.
Whether she denied or not, it's not a fact an issue. The point is this: that this statement ought not to have been said from the beginning. It ought not to have been said from the beginning. It only just puts our judiciary in a bad light. And we should avoid things of this magnitude. We should avoid things of this magnitude. If those statements were not made, would she have had a reason to come to defend or to claim that what he has said is wrong or right? No. So, see, we must avoid these things to restore back the hope of the man on the streets. To restore back his hope, because he relies so much on the judiciary. I give you an example. If you look at most of the matters that are happening in the country today, a lot of persons would sit back wanting to hear what the judiciary will say, hoping that the judiciary will do justice. But when people come out, make statements about the judiciary, and we see that these are close friends, family members, husbands or wives of politicians, and when they make these statements and you say the people should actually just throw it under the carpet, the people cannot throw it under the carpet. That is why we must be careful about these statements. It's very important.
Absolutely. I hear you clearly, but no doubt Justice Kekere is set to become the second substantive female CJN. We'll see how it goes with the National Assembly, following the footsteps of Justice Miriam Mukhtar. And a lot have been talked about as regards the significance, the milestone this holds for gender representation and diversity in the Nigerian judiciary. We'll see how that will also impact on all of the things you've talked about. Let's take a short break, and we'll return with more. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us, everyone. There are several landmark judgments during the administration of the 22nd Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Olukayode Ariwola, among which are the 2023 presidential election judgment, the caste scarcity case, and recent local government autonomy. And that's what we're looking at in the second half of the show. Thank you for staying the course on the program. Chetem Nwala, lawyer and Pan-Africanist, who joins us live from our Abuja studio. We also have Dr. Roland Otaru, who's Senior Advocate of Nigeria, joining us via Zoom. Dr. Otaru, what do you consider the biggest challenges ahead the new Chief Justice of Nigeria, vis-a-vis what transpired today at the Supreme Court?
Thank you. First and foremost, may I use this opportunity to thank the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, for cutting short his visit to France, or to Paris, to swear in the new Chief Justice of Nigeria, my Lord Honorable Justice Kudirat Kekere-Ekun, JSC, CJN, CFR. And again, I want to say without any equivocation that my Lord Honorable Justice Kekere-Ekun is very cerebral. She has what it takes to be the CJN of this country. She started from the magistracy up to the apex court. As regards what had happened today, I think I know that she's going to address some of these challenges facing the judiciary. There is no doubt about that. Because she had garnered experience over time. And looking at her judicial trajectory, you agree with me that she's indeed a round peg in a round hole.
We're counting on that.
I have no doubt about that.
Absolutely. We're counting on that as well, and we're looking at how it will impact on some of the challenges we've raised earlier. There's the issue of conflicting court orders from courts of coordinate jurisdiction. Is that something you think the office of the CJN can fix within a limited time?
Recently, there was a seminar, in fact, by the Nigeria Bar Association. And indeed, even the body of benchers that I'm a member set up a committee headed by the former Chief Justice of Nigeria, my Lord Honorable Justice Walter Onoge, to look at these issues of conflicting judgments of the Superior Courts of Record. And I know that we are going to get a very robust report. We are going to get a very robust pathway in which to curb these conflicting judgments of these courts. Well, I know that the economy CJN is going to do something about that too. I have no doubt about that. And if you look at her character is unimpeachable. She has always been there. Anytime she presides in any matter, you know that, yes, this is a judex that knows what he is doing. I use the word he because in law, there's nothing like a she there. We are all men.
Interested.
Women is scared. So that's why I use that word, that anytime she presides in any court section, she's always on top of her game.
Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Dr. Roland Otaru, thank you for joining us on the program. We are hoping to host you in the studio when you return from your trip.
I will do that.
Thank you so much for your contribution.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Nwala, let's get back to our conversation on what has happened in the past 2 years. We have just about 5 more minutes on the show. The federal government has now inaugurated a 10-member committee led by the SGF to enforce local government autonomy. Do you anticipate any resistance from state governors?
First of all, let me start by saying that it is really commendable on the part of the President and the AGF for instituting the action with respect to the local government autonomy, because this has been the outcry of Nigerians over the years. And successive administrations who have always made this demand for local government autonomy. And for us to achieve a true democracy, we must have local government autonomy. And we've also seen in the past how governors have shut it down, made sure that it does not fly through the National Assembly. But one way or the other, the Supreme Court, in its wisdom, decided on a very cerebral matter, which has given local government a clear-cut autonomy, and which is something when the judgment came up, we were happy about. And we said it's a landmark achievement of the Tinubu's administration, because there are a lot of things the local government autonomy was meant to solve in the country. But what became a pain to some of us and became challenging to us is saying that the presidency is now deciding to meet with governor to suspend the implementation of a Supreme Court judgment. We must say clearly that Supreme Court judgments are not suggestions. Supreme Court judgments are orders of court, and those orders must be obeyed immediately. You cannot, when the Supreme Court says with immediate effect, we cannot give time frame for the implementation of the judgment. The judgment is that stop sending these monies to the state governors. You pay directly to the local government to give that financial autonomy to the local government. But this continuous setting up of committee to review Supreme Court judgment, the question I keep asking is the executive, is the presidency now staying the judgment of the Supreme Court? It is quite unfortunate that we are seeing this happen. And I want to call on the president, because we have known him to be a Democrat, and we are happy with the move he has made. That most of the issues that we saw in recent times would have been avoided if we have a local government autonomy. Because the subsidy that was removed, monies are being paid to the governors, But when the protest held in this state, a lot of us focused on the presidency because the monies we believe is not trickling down to local government. If there's a clear-cut local government autonomy at the local government level, believe you me, a lot of persons would not, because from the local government you see that works will start happening. And not this jamboree we see politicians do, appoint their friends, appoint their cronies as cabinet committee members. The Supreme Court has given a judgment, and we know the president is a Democrat. The president, as a Democrat, should as well obey the judgment of the Supreme Court. So, because tomorrow we would have a repetition of a situation where people would start accusing the president to say the president does not obey court orders.
It sounds like you're saying there is no need for this 13-man committee that has been instituted.
Absolutely.
Are you saying it is as simple as paying allocation directly to local government administrators?
The modalities could be worked out within 2 weeks, and would have our country back. Would have a proper democracy, and how democracy should work in the country. We cannot have a situation where, let me tell you this, the governors have held back the local governments across this country. The governors are very powerful, made themselves very powerful because they control these local government funds. If the local governments can operate independent of the governors, if the local governments can operate independent of the governors, I believe you me, we would have a better country. Because let me tell you, there are some persons.
Are you also paying attention
and they are administrators?
Yes. Are you paying attention to the current political dynamics that tend to make local government chairmen obligated to state governors? How can their independence be strengthened to ensure implementation in this regard?
Let me say this. Once you have an independent, if you want to have an independent local government that is actually not under the control of the governors like we have seen, in democracy, it was naturally created in such a way that the local government will actually operate independently, not depending on the largest from the state government. And if we have a system, we have not. If you look at the local government across the country, you would agree with me that the local government chairmen are not doing anything. They are not working as they are supposed to work. In short, we focus more on the state government and the federal government without giving recourse to the local government, because the local government chairmen seem to be only obligated to the governors. And the president must look into this. The president must solve this particular problem because it's a serious issue. Tomorrow, these same governors he's speaking with, he's actually going into these interactions with, will be the same one to accuse him to say he does not actually obey court orders. So it is very important that the president looks into this and get this sorted out as much as possible.
We have completely run out of time. This is a developing story, and we're going to touch on it subsequently. Chetamu Wala is a lawyer and Pan-Africanist. Thank you for talking to us on the program this evening.
Thank you for having me, and God bless you.
And that's our conversation on Beyond 100 Days today. You can watch it again at midnight and at 6 a.m. tomorrow. Do have a lovely weekend. I'll be back at the top